Let's talk about God's plan. Ultimately, I believe that basically almost little that you do here is actually your own choice. If that makes any sense. There's some of it that is, but some of it most assuredly is not. It's my opinion. And I say this because since I was born, I've had this urge to do this fucking transgender shit. Since I was born. And the second that I finally fucking worked up the nerve to give into this shit, the same week basically, I also felt this uncontrollable urge to go downtown and wander around at night. And I don't know why. I don't normally do that. And it was like about a week of that I met my girlfriend Dakota in a park downtown at night. And I don't know, man. It's fucking strange as fuck. Because, she needed me and I needed her. And we needed to have the relationship that we had. And we would need to have that kind of a relationship with someone to ever be able to be happy with anyone ever again. She was fucking miserable. And needed love and someone that got her badly, and I was so alone and needed someone that got me badly. And she was like a gift from God. She was like my second half. That doesn't last forever. I don't think that lasts forever with anyone really, but she was a part of God's plan for me, and I was a part of God's plan for her, whether she wants to think about that or not. I hated God for so many fucking years because I felt the way that I did, and I have no control over the way that I feel about that shit that I can see. If it happened as a result of something that happened to me, it happened before I was 3 years old. As far as I can tell, ever since I was born, I've been obsessed with that shit. And I think God made me obsessed with that shit because Dakota wanted to date a trans woman. And wouldn't accept love from anyone else, basically, because she was who she was. I made a video not long ago about Jeremiah 29:11. This is kind of the same video, I guess, but I was watching a Southern Paladin and Reward Audacity talking back and forth about each other about magnets and God's plan, which I'm almost 100% certain the God's plan part I might have inspired, but I'm not entirely sure. I've been talking a lot about God lately, and Reward Audacity, I know, watches me, and the amount of people that Reward Audacity would listen to about religion is basically me and 5 other people, probably. Something like that. He's one of the few people I would listen to about religion. Southern Paladin, too. If you want channels to go watch, I recommend Reward Audacity 1998 and Southern Paladin. Maybe Southern Paladin 1. I don't remember. I want to say that I keep adding the 1 because Southern Paladin 1 sounds like a little old man from Florida. Anyway. Also, as a part of God's plan, I wouldn't be the person that I am today if Reward Audacity had not made the videos that he made on YouTube when he made them. I was looking for something to believe and understand and whatever, and getting bullshit from a lot of people. Mike's videos were always fucking dead on, pretty much. At least with what I thought. And it's nice to hear that you're not wrong. I've been told I was wrong about everything my entire life. I'm starting to think that, like, no, you are right. They are wrong. And, like, this whole God shit is the reason why. There's some sort of, like, bullshit going on that, like, they're lying to a bunch of people. And not just, like, the government. I mean, like, the churches of the world, I think, are all run by Satan. You know, our little caveman circle is the people that I would talk to about religion, because honestly, you're my tribe at this point. You're the people that live in the lie with me. I don't really have a tribe because everyone here is in the Matrix. That's how I feel. Like, I can't even talk to my grandmother. My grandmother thinks I'm fucking Looney Tunes. And it's not about the Jesus stuff and all the religious stuff lately. It's all the rest of it. Like, the Jesus and religious stuff lately has been, I did a lot of drugs for a long time. And then kind of at the end of that, God came and sat down and spoke to me and wondered why I hated him. Wondered what I ever did to him. I told him all the things he did to me. And that's when he flashed that Jeremiah 29:11 shit through my head. You know, I loved you when you were dust. Don't hate me. That's what he said. Like, that's what I believe. So I guess if you're asking if there is a plan or not, I would have told you that that was bullshit. I would have told you that that was complete and utter horseshit, that there's no plan, you have free will. I think you do have free will in some things. Some things you really don't have a choice about because they're things other people cause to happen. You know, I think whatever caused the transgender thing with me, if it was God, if it was something else, God used it to help Dakota. You know, this is one of those, the true servant of God listens, does what he's told. According to God, most of the crazy shit I ever did was either just flat out me being crazy, or the other half of the time, some sort of thing involving this shit. And I think we're all like tuning forks. There's some like signal from the center of the universe or some shit that taps into your fucking soul. And it can make you do anything, really, but it chooses not to. I don't really know how it works, but they were mostly talking about cars in that video. I do like cars. I don't know. I've never owned very many, though. The only cars I've ever owned was a Toyota FJ Cruiser from 2011, and I own a 2004 Honda minivan. You know, I bought that FJ brand new. I drove it for a better part of a decade, like 11, 12 years maybe even, I remember. 2011, I sold it in 21, I guess, so I guess 10 years. But that's one of those, like, I babied that car. I put 65,000 miles on it. I didn't use it for much except for just running around town when I needed to run errands. And a couple of road trips. And it was a Toyota Racing Development Special Edition. So when you buy a really, really high-end car like that and you don't drive it much, and then they stop making it, and it was a car that most people liked, I sold that car for $28,000. It wasn't worth that the year before. It wasn't worth that the year after. It was worth that when God said it was worth that. You know, I don't know what it's going for at the moment, but my guess is with the collapse of the auto market, like, that car probably is still doing pretty good. It's one of those cars that in 20 years, that car, with the right maintenance and being taken care of, will be a collector item that someone will fight over at auction. That's what I firmly believe. You know, I used to sell guns to fucking billionaires and millionaires. And when I was doing that, I was driving that FJ. And they were driving supercars. And every last one of them fucking checked out my FJ. That tells you anything. They thought the FJ was almost as cool as their fucking supercars. But I was driving an army green with an army green top with a fucking green interior Toyota Racing Development Special Edition too. So that's part of it. It's like, that's not a normal FJ. I used to laugh all the time because people would come and talk to me about my car, and they would be instantly disappointed. They didn't get that I was a woman, basically, in a man's body driving around a Jeep. I don't like cars. I barely tolerate their existence. I like the ability to go where I want to go. I don't like having to put up with the bullshit of cars, if that makes any sense. You know, there's bullshit with horses too, so, like, don't get me wrong, I get that they are an improvement over horses. I just wish that there was some sort of a way that I could have a vehicle that didn't require constant fucking maintenance and parts and shit and have to go fill up with gas. Like, we could make a vehicle that just fucking worked, right? Had wheels that didn't ever fucking need air. That we do all of this shit because we need fucking to sell tires. Because we need to grow rubber. Because we need to make money selling the rubber to the tire company. Because we need to make money selling the tires to the fucking tire selling people. And then they need to make money selling them to you. Well, meanwhile, we could just design wheels that don't need fucking tires. You know? I get that tires are a much more comfortable ride. But, like, look at what NASA's doing with the fucking lunar shit they're doing now. They made fucking wire mesh wheels. I don't know if those would work on a road or not, but slow pitch here. We get rid of the roads. If you make wheels that work better in dirt, then you don't need roads, right? Like, you need some sort of graded path. It would be a hell of a lot cheaper just to run a grader through places, wouldn't it? And this is where, like, really? Most of the country should be dirt roads with a grader. Like, I say that because I live in Oklahoma, and, like, the roads here suck. No matter what we make them out of, they fucking fall apart in, like, a couple of years. And I think it's mostly because we get cheap shit and, like, hire fucking criminals. But at the same time, you know, if the fucking roads are basically dirt roads inside of 2 or 3 years anyway, let's just design our cars to run on fucking dirt roads. Be done with it. Like, that's not a solution for cities, and this is where you'd have to still pave cities. But, you know, cities have the money to do this shit, and if we weren't spending money to pave the world, we could have nicer paved cities. And then highways in between them. And, like, for the rural areas and shit, honestly, I think most of those people would like it if the city folk couldn't come visit them. That's just me. Like, you have to have a special vehicle to come here. It's Texas. Yep, it has to have regulation tires and has to, not be a Democrat. And, if you have a bumper sticker that offends us, it gets kicked out. Welcome to Texas. Cars. I want to think more about cars. I can't think of anything. I'm working on that minivan thing. And Reward of Destiny said I could put off-road lights on the roof rack. I'm actually planning to do a light bar across the top of the roof eventually, but that's money. And some pod lights on the bumper on either side of the winch, because it's going to be easy to mount them there, and they're bright as shit. And my headlights aren't really that bright anyway right now. And, like, everyone in Tulsa is driving around with all of these fucking, like, LED bolt-on lights added to their car. The cops ain't saying shit. I don't think it's illegal here. I don't really know. But basically, I want to rig up lights like that because I'm tired of fucking dealing with people's headlights. I want to have, they make these switches. I forget what they're called, but they're the NASA Apollo 11 switch from inside the command module. You can buy these. They're like $30-$50 somewhere in there. And some of them are just one, and some of them are like 4 and whatever. And like, the more switches you get, the more it costs. But I'm going to bolt one of those into the fucking panel of that car and have, 4 or 5 toggle switches. And the toggle switches are all going to work different lights. And one of those lights I want to be a fucking spotlight in the center of the car that is tick. And I'm going to target it at oncoming fucking cars. I am tired of not being able to see. It's one of those that I don't know how many other people are like getting this, but it can't just be me that's tired of fucking people with ridiculous headlights. Like, this is becoming enough of an issue to where I think we should pass a federal regulation on headlights. And I know that's extreme coming from me. But, like, in reality, in a city, I don't think you should be able to turn on light bars and shit. That's fucking nuts. It blinds people. And for the headlights, some of the LED headlights they're making are too bright. It's like looking at a welding arc or something like that. People have to continue driving after they see you. I know, like, everyone is like, oh, well, I'm lighting up the road for me. And, like, it's fine now on the roads where they put in all those LED fucking lights above the road. But that's because it's, like, daylight there now. And you don't need lights at all. So you might as well turn them off. And this is why I don't understand anything that's going on with cars. I think, to be honest, I have the cheap-ass car I have because I like it, A. And B, I don't think anything I buy right now is going to be something I'm going to keep for 20 years. I think by 20 years from now, we will be driving different shit of some sort. Carriages pulled by robot dogs or some shit. Electric vehicles, I don't fucking know. But gasoline-powered cars, it looks like ain't gonna be a thing, and, like, I didn't want to spend a lot of money on one. And yet I wanted something that I could live in if I had to. And, like, a minivan is this, like, perfect mix of just small enough that you could just drive it every day, but yet just big enough that, like, it's like an enclosed truck with sliding doors on the sides. With the seats pulled out of it and shit. And if you pull the mattress out of the back right now, it's a truck bed. It's kind of a low one. And, like, I like that. I like a lot of stuff about the minivan, really. And this is where I know everyone thinks minivans are for soccer moms, but you know who likes minivans? Samurai. In Japan, the richest men on earth get driven around in the most luxury pimp-ass minivans you've ever seen. And honestly, that's half of why my car is like a samurai mobile. You know, it is a cheap thing that I can drive and whatever, that I can live out of, that does everything that I need it to do. That, you know, if a samurai went into the mountains or whatever, a sports car doesn't do you any good there, but like a camper van does. And this is kind of where, like, that's how I think anyway. To me, my view of samurai comes from my grandfather, and my grandfather mixed all this shit all together so much that, like, I got lectures about Jeremiah Johnson and samurai together, which really, isn't that just awesome? Who's more samurai than Jeremiah Johnson? And the real version of that, Jeremiah Johnson was actually Liver Eaton Johnson. He was a real man from the 1800s who did every job that a man can do in the 1800s, basically, and ended up in an old folks' home in San Francisco being taken care of by the government. But they called him Liver Eaton Johnson because during his days that we saw in the Jeremiah Johnson movie, he was tripping on mushrooms in the woods while he was hunting down all the fucking Cheyenne that he hated, and when he caught them, he ate their livers and their hearts and shit like that. Like, he was extreme. That's, you know, samurai shit. You know? And honestly, I think the mountain men start doing samurai shit because they're fucking dealing with Native Americans. And on some level, Native Americans and Asian people have this weird vibe together that, like, some of their warrior culture stuff in particular is very similar. But it's like they went like this like 10,000 years ago. Anyway, this has been 22 minutes of this. I hope someone has got something out of God's plan. I don't know what the full plan is, but I think you should know that God does have a plan for your life of some sort. And that I think what you do changes his plan. Would be my guess. You know, the limited amount of control that you have, I think he looks at what you do and plans accordingly. And it's one of those things that, like, would you rather have what you want, or would you rather have what your grandfather planned for you to have? At this point, I'm living on faith, and I'll take Grandpa. I'll take Grandpa all damn day.